Right then, we're going on a dog-friendly holiday, and I thought you'd like to join us on this little adventure. The holiday is taking place over a weekend, Friday through Monday, so it isn't a huge amount of time, but we still end up always packing more than we need to. Winston makes sure he's got his own essentials, I put the rest of the stuff in the car, and then we get ready to go. Both dogs are great travellers. They sit in the back of the car in the back seats versus the boot, normally because the boot is full of stuff. Winston has his own car seat, which is also helpful to keep the smaller dogs safe. We start our trip at the most important destination, Starbucks, to get some coffee for the rest of the 4.5-hour journey. We always make sure we plan our stops on our route, just so we know kind of what we're doing with the dogs, where they can get out of the car, have a drink of water, go to the toilet. In this case, our first stop was a couple of hours after we left home at Rugby Services.
The second stop on our route was about an hour later, just before Telford. It was at this point things got quite interesting on our journey because we started seeing signs towards North Wales, always makes it more exciting. On the downside, when we entered Wales, the weather started to take a turn for the worst. At first a little bit of rain, and then a lot. There was also some drama with a bird in the road. Don't worry, the bird was fine, as were we. Not long after 5 PM we arrived at our destination, Llanfendigaid Estate. There are 6 properties to stay on at site, ranging from 2 persons to 18 people. The main house, both cottages and the cowshed are all dog friendly, and given the fact it's located just outside Snowdon National Park and right by the coast, it makes a great destination for dog friendly holidays. There's also a number of amenities on site, like a pool. It's conveniently located in the middle of the properties and is undercover, so it can be used whatever the weather. Should you need it, there is a changing room on the side, but it might just be easier to change in your accommodation. The pool itself is small, but nicely heated. So now it's time for your tour around the property we stayed in, the cowshed. This is one of the larger ones to stay on site, ideal for 6 people. There's also plenty of space if you are bringing dogs with you. One of the best features about the cowshed is this great courtyard/garden space. In summer months, it'll be easy to spend most of your time here. There's lovely flowers, some outdoor seating, a barbecue, and it's backed directly onto some farmland, so you get some great shots of the cows and the sheep in the field behind you. It's also not overlooked by anyone, so it has a great amount of privacy. One of Buddy's favourite things about this place was the Dutch doors. He spent a lot of time doing this. The building itself can be described as one long series of rooms, moving from the lounge to the dining space, complete with telescope if the skies are clear. It then goes into a nice galley kitchen, and then to the bedrooms. The owners have recently decorated, so everything's just looking really fresh. As mentioned, it does sleep 6, and that's a twin room with 2 singles and then 2 double bedrooms. Both of the double bedrooms have en-suites, and there's also a shared bathroom at the end of the kitchen. The only request is you don't let your dogs in the bedrooms or on the furniture, but the whole place is pretty big, so that shouldn't be a problem. And this bedroom has a nice feature with double doors opening onto the courtyard. Alright, that's it, tour's over. Because we'd done a lot of travelling that day, we didn't do much that evening. One thing we like to do with the dogs when we take them away is just kind of let them chill in and get used to the accommodation. So that meant a few chews, a few treats, putting their beds in comfortable positions, and just chilling out as a group. Winston making sure that Boggle is also present. We then make sure the boys go to the toilet before getting ready for bed. The cowshed didn't come with dog beds, you're expected to bring your own, but that shouldn't be a problem. Buddy normally has his large bed, and with Winston we have a small bed in his pop-up crate. It just gives him a bit of privacy and peace and quiet from his brother. The following morning when we woke up, the weather wasn't that great. It was still pretty cloudy and drizzly, though the forecast for the day was looking better just after lunch. We had some breakfast, and Winston sat inside and chilled out with his favourite toy, whilst Buddy made his way outside and sat in the car, getting ready for everyone else to come, wondering why they didn't have the same sense of urgency as he did. Winston was pouting about being brought out in the rain, but we jumped in the car and we head up about 6 miles up the road to Dolgoch Falls. There is a set walk that you can follow alongside the river and waterfalls to the top. There's some picnic benches up there, so it makes quite a good walk. The whole thing took us around an hour or so. There's plenty of points along the stream where either you or your dog can get into the river should you want to. Buddy generally likes the river, so as having fun exploring. But it is definitely not Winston's vibe. We also found a few caves on our walk, which some you can explore, some you can't. Whilst none of them are particularly deep, we did let the bravest, aka Winston, go first to explore. The last part of the climb is probably the steepest, with a series of winding staircases to navigate. But before long you're at the top with some signposts, some picnic benches and a nice water spot. On the way down we found a fairly easier path to walk, and we're planning to stop at the cafe at the bottom to grab some coffee and a cake. In this case I ordered the cream tea. It was advertised as a fruit scone. I think I found 2 raisins in there, but would still recommend it. The dogs were pretty well behaved whilst we ate, and after that we jumped back in the car and head back to the house. Winston had a quick break, but as the weather was improving we decided to take a walk to the beach. Well, most of us walked. Winston decided at this point he wanted to be carried. I think we worked out it was roughly about 2 kilometres from the house to the beach. Most of that was along a road, but it was pretty quiet, so that shouldn't be an issue. A bit like the road, the beach was very quiet, not many people there. I think we saw one other dog and a few people fishing. So if you do have a slightly more anxious dog, it could be a great destination for you to go and get some space. It was also quite nice to see Buddy back to normal at this point. Regular viewers know that Buddy hurt his foot a few weeks ago and basically spent 6 weeks in bandages, unable to go on walks and do any of this kind of thing. So seeing him back out in the beach, in the water, in the dirt, having a great time was just really good to see. Whilst Buddy was exploring, Winston spent most of the time chilling out, and we found some wildlife. A couple of crabs and a little jellyfish amongst all the rocks. This is one of the smaller crabs. It was at this point the dogs were giving us all the vibes they're ready to go home. Even Buddy was tired. We couldn't come all this way without making them pose in their little sun hats. It's quite funny, Buddy had a hissy fit because he didn't want his picture taken, but I'm pretty happy with the result. Cute, no? At this point we decided to make our way back to the house. The sun was coming out, the skies were turning blue, so we put the dogs' cool jackets on and chilled out for the afternoon. Because the weather was so good, we decided to have a barbecue that evening. The host provided all the charcoal that we needed, so we just had to make the food. We then spent some time out in the garden before heading indoors and getting ready for bed, both dogs exhausted. The weather was so much better on day 3, well, at least to start with anyway. We took the morning fairly chilled, we had breakfast, I went to the nearby town to get petrol for the car. There's also a couple of supermarkets and takeaways there, should you want those on your stay. And we decided to head up the coast today towards Barmouth. One option was to drive to Barmouth itself, but given the fact it was on the other side of a river and we had to drive a little bit inland to get over that river, we decided to take a different route. There's actually a footbridge that goes alongside the train track, which crosses a bridge into Barmouth. You can park up at Morduck Station and follow the Morduck Trail across the bridge. Depending on your pace, it'll probably take you about 20 or 30 minutes. Despite not being too sunny, it was pretty warm at this point, so we did stop a couple of times en route just to make sure the dogs had some water. Should you have any spare change, there's also an optional toll at the end of the footbridge. Once we got into Barmouth, the goal was to sit down and have a coffee. There are plenty of options to choose from alongside the harbour front. We did find Barmouth to be pretty busy, so if you do have kids or dogs with you, just make sure you keep an eye on them. There is a lot of traffic driving around. At this point, the weather made a turn for the worst, and the wind picked up and the rain came in, so we made a hasty retreat back across the bridge towards the car. Given it was almost lunchtime, I put in dog-friendly pubs nearby, and it came up with George III. It was about a 15-minute drive down the road. Unfortunately, it was also fully booked. At least the restaurant was. So when we got there, we found a space in the pub side where they served drinks and pizzas, sat outside with some fresh air, drank an Aperol Spritz, and enjoyed the view. The dogs chilled out whilst our pizzas were made. There was plenty of selection to choose from, and it only took about 15-20 minutes for them to come. If anything, that was far more enjoyable than sitting in a restaurant. However, it felt like the bad weather was chasing us, and then the rain came in again, so we made a hasty retreat back to the house. Both dogs were exhausted, so we let them chill out in the house whilst we went to go and play some table tennis. It was quite hard filming this and playing at the same time. Not that I'm making excuses, but it was also quite windy, so don't judge our skills. That evening we had a light dinner, we played some Uno Flip. It's a great game if you haven't played it. And because Glastonbury was on, we spent the evening in front of the TV watching Elton John perform. It was then time for evening toilets before the dogs went to bed. Before you know it, it's the final day and time to pack up and head home. Buddy was pretty miserable at that and had a little sulk in the kitchen, but that at least gave us some space to pack up their belongings. We had planned to take a slight detour on the way home. It seemed silly to me to drive all the way to Snowdonia National Park and not see Snowdon. It also gave us an opportunity to take the dogs for a walk before the long drive home. The route that I put in the sat-nav was slightly narrower and windier than I thought, but it did also give us some great views. I found an area just at the foot of Snowdon. There was a couple of walks on the map, as well as a little lake. It was a great destination for the dogs to go stretch their legs, have a swim, and get that fresh air. Out of nowhere, Buddy also got a huge burst of energy and decided to annoy his brother, just act like a bit of a maniac for 10 minutes. Though, to my point about the beach, it's just nice to see him being back to normal after his injury. It was at this point we then jumped in the car and hit the road, heading home. Hopefully you like this little overview of our dog-friendly holiday, and if you're interested, we've got plenty more on our channel. You'll find a couple of videos from our holiday to Scotland last year, as well as our trips to Norfolk, Somerset and Worcester. You can also give our friends at Dog Friendly Destinations a follow too. They've got the best recommendations, and that's how we found this place in Wales. Thanks for watching.